Thank you.
All right. Mr. Carl, now just a short while ago, U.S. President Joe Biden has said that the chances of an extension of the ongoing truce were real. What is your assessment? What are the chances of the current ceasefire extending? Because we heard Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu also asserting on how they are committed in achieving all the goals of the war and bringing back all the hostages back to Israel.
Well, it seems that a ceasefire, I'm confident a ceasefire is an advantage for both parties, not only because of the exchange of prisoners, which is a good thing for the Palestinians and Hamas, and a good thing for the Israelis and the Netanyahu government, but also because it gives, in particular, Hamas a chance to resupply, reorganize, and plan for the Israelis also. But since Hamas is the weaker party and under attack at this time, I think the ceasefire probably does help Hamas. Of course, the Israelis will be watching as this plays out. But I can see the ceasefire extending for a day or two. We've heard that the Israelis have offered to extend the ceasefire 24 hours for each 10 hostages released. And so I think the prospects are strong that will probably happen for another day or two anyway, in addition to what's already agreed.
Right, Mr. Carl, you speak of how the ceasefire could be extended beyond the 4 days. But Netanyahu has clearly lamented that the war is not over. At this moment, do you think Israel will be able to strike a balance between hostage release and eliminating Hamas, which is its ultimate aim?
Well, if as you have just framed it in those terms, I think the answer is yes. I think that the Israelis probably will continue a ceasefire or be willing to do it, to extend it for more hostages. And that doesn't change at all their plans to, or their objective of eliminating Hamas. Now, whether Israel can achieve that has always been a much larger question, and that's a challenge at best.
Mr. Carl, while the truce is in effect, we've seen the success on day one of the truce. The Israeli military has warned people against returning to northern Gaza, clearly outlining how the war is not over. And apart from that, an IDF spokesperson also said that they intend to demolish many tunnels after the ceasefire completes.
I'm sure all of that is true. And we've also heard reports, I'm sure you have, of Palestinians who tried to return to the northern half of Gaza and apparently were fired upon, and also who were subjected to tear gas to disperse them, I think, or keep them from coming north. Israel will continue to try to blow up the tunnels. I think that objective, Israel probably can have a large measure of success in achieving. But blowing up tunnels is not the same thing as destroying Hamas as a coherent organization.
Right, Mr. Carl. Just a short while ago, U.S. President Joe Biden held a press conference and said that putting conditions on military aid is a worthwhile thought. How do you gauge that statement by Biden, and why has the statement come now after the U.S. has already given $14.3 billion in aid to Israel?
Well, Biden is caught on the horns of a dilemma. For that matter, everyone involved or touched by this fighting is on the horns of a dilemma, too. Biden has, as we all know, strongly, at the very least, we could say strongly expressed or extended the support of the United States to Netanyahu's government as it tries to eliminate Hamas. But at the same time, progressively, Biden's administration has been trying to keep the Israelis from killing Palestinian civilians, probably an impossible task if they're attacking in Gaza, and is trying, Biden's administration, to pressure progressively, it appears, the Netanyahu government to realize, I think, that the costs of its current military campaign are growing probably faster than the rewards that Israel is achieving by killing more Hamas fighters. But it's an unsatisfactory balancing act for much of the Muslim world, and for that matter, for many other people. And that's the dilemma Biden is trying to
yes, Mr.
solve,
Carl.
how to pressure Israel while supporting Israel.
Right, Mr. Carl, there are also growing calls around the world for a permanent ceasefire. How do you think that the international community, especially countries like the US and Qatar, which have clearly played a major role of mediation, how are they going to use their weight that they have in this, maybe to change Israeli minds for a permanent ceasefire? Like we've been talking about how Netanyahu is adamant when he says that the war is not over.
I think probably, without stating it publicly, Qatar even would agree with Netanyahu's statement there, and the U.S. probably too. Most Muslim governments are not very favorably disposed towards Hamas, and although they strongly support the Palestinian people and oppose Israel's seemingly uncontrolled or poorly controlled attacks, which are causing so much Palestinian death. It's a bit early, it seems to me, in the view of most governments, frankly. That's not the populations, but most governments for a ceasefire because Hamas remains as I said before, a coherent entity and quite capable of continuing to control Gaza and to attack Israel. And Hamas doesn't have a lot of friends other than in Tehran and progressively, it seems, in Moscow.
Mr. Carl, what would you say? Do you think that the IDF mission in Gaza has been a success so far?
For Israel?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a difficult question. I think the short answer is no. Israel had to respond after 1,300 massacred people, but it didn't necessarily have to respond for 6 weeks and killing many thousands of Palestinians. And I and many others, before Israel went into Gaza with the army, were very doubtful that a conventional military campaign could eliminate Hamas, functionally eliminate Hamas, without causing so much suffering of the Palestinians that the harm to Israel and the instability and dangers for the entire region and world would not outweigh the supposed benefit that Israel is trying to achieve.
Right, Mr. Carl, thank you so much for joining us here on WION and sharing your insights with us.
Anytime.